Hey guys, welcome back to Dry Peak, Popped Off's casually competitive Valorant podcast. I'm your host, James Graham. I'm the casual. Joined here with Scott Finley. He's the competitive. Every week we kind of break down the competitive Valorant scene, both from a casual and competitive, outlook.
Yeah, outlook, standpoint.
Standpoint,
Whatever
yeah.
you want to say.
Yeah, there's a bunch of viewpoints as well. Yeah. So here on Dry Peak, we do a couple things. We usually drink beer. We drink beer every episode, which we're doing right now. Yeah, as physically possible. Scott, what are you getting into this week, man?
I'm going with a Christmas beer, which is interesting. So it's kind of sweet. It's got like sugar, cinnamon, and cloves in it. It's like 7%, but funny enough, doesn't taste 7% because there's sugar in it. So
It's
maybe dangerous.
That's real dangerous. Yeah,
Pretty fucking lit.
it is lit. Okay.
Happy holidays. It's called All Lit Up. So kind of sick, actually.
That's not bad.
I fuck with it heavy. That's
Honestly, for like a festive drink, like look at that can too. Yeah, get that in. There we go.
Lit
Yeah,
Up.
yeah.
Festive can. It's lit.
That's really nice. And I'm getting into Nelson's Park American Pale Ale. I figured I was like, you know what? Maybe some of our viewers are from the States, so I'll drink something from that. But it's made by Tatamagouche Brewing Co. $20 says nobody's going to be able to find that or spell that unless you're from Nova Scotia. Because the place is whimsical. It's made up. It's fake.
Totally fake.
Totally fake. But, yeah. So, on top of this, though, we always talk about patch notes, roster moves, results, and occasional drama from the competitive Valorant scene, regardless of the region. I think we're getting a lot better at focusing around more on the international stage.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It was definitely NA focused at first, but now more and more is coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like First Strike really made that easy. I think it really put like a lot of accessible results as far as like looking for information for the international stage.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna jump into the meat and potatoes of this week, which is the patch notes. So we saw some nice observer quality of life, which is great. We're never complaining about that. And then we get into some Sage buffs, which I think were a long time coming, I think.
Definitely, and actually I played some ranked games this weekend. The Sage was in all of them, and the Sage buffs are good, man. Like,
Yep.
to be able to just wall off something and have it just sit there at max HP until it fades, essentially, is fucking good. Because you can just give up that area of the map knowing that you'll have to hear them shoot it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You're gonna have some sort of tell,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly. So I think it's good.
And it's just the barrier, right? You don't have like the heal hasn't been changed, the orb hasn't been changed. I think we talked about this a lot previously, being like she got hit with a nerf bat really hard. Maybe one or two of those changes was necessary, and I'm glad they're starting to like work their way back.
Yeah, I mean her strength has always been kind of denying like momentum or denying tempo, and I think this wall definitely does that. Her heal still is not great. Her res obviously is still
nuts.
The best thing. I think it definitely turns like a retake into your favor and stuff. So
absolutely,
I think she's getting into a spot where she's good. Like she's not a loss to her team if she's picked. Like she's actively.
Well, yeah, that was like the biggest thing was just like Sage is on your team, just like GG man. Like it's like picking Viper for fuck's sakes.
Which I don't hate either. Like if I'm at my elo, like if someone picks Viper, like they're probably fucking good.
Yeah, well they know the lineups.
Like, they've probably done their research and shit.
Yeah,
which I don't hate. Like. I think I'm always of this opinion that play what you want if like you're good at what you want, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, the meta doesn't exist if you're a fucking pro Viper. Like what's the meta to you if you're just like this immortal Viper who is insane?
Yeah, no, it's when you get in like the silver and gold depths that it's like, well, you can't trust anybody on anything. So I mean, I guess it doesn't.
Like as most people know from other games, like in League of Legends, especially like at the lower ranks, the meta is not the meta. The meta
there is no meta. There is no meta.
You could just be like the shittiest champ as long as you have this like cheese and just win.
Yeah. So. Oh, exactly right. So, and on top of that, which I think is a thing you called for big time after it got released, was the icebox elevation, like. I don't want to call it like smoothing out. Like it's
the verticality of the map was
there we go.
Fucked. So there was like ground level, there was like a halfway point, there was like a high point, and then there was even a fourth elevation, which is where like your rope ladder things are. And then if you get over to B side, there's a fifth elevation, which was that fucking yellow container. So they leveled everything out to, I think there's like in total like 3 elevations now.
Down from fucking 5.
Which is definitely more in line, I think, with what people can reasonably look at.
And adjust to, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like
and they smoothed it out. So normally, there's a lot of like jagged corners going like straight up and over, and they made more ramps.
Yeah, not only that too, they've taken away some of like the cubby, like cheesy, like sitting spots as well.
Yeah,
like
they put it on
a pretty 45, yeah. So I mean, like, I think that I think people still have a bone to pick with Icebox, but I think it's significantly less worse than what was our.
Well, I always, whenever I play Xbox, I always try and be the guy who solos B, because B has always not been a problem. A has always been just the fucking worst thing to hold.
Absolutely.
So at least they're making A a little easier, so it's more in line with where B is at.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like the changes a lot. I also like how Riot released the changes. That's clean with the little gifs.
Oh yeah. Just it's like you get this nice little transition on like what it is and stuff like that. Yeah.
Because for reference, in Counter-Strike when they released the patch, they like moved spray paint can, and you're like, well, where? Like, where was this object that got removed? So it's definitely nice to be able to like visually see the change without having to go in the map and investigate
yourself. So yeah, exactly.
That's cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, it's if like, I mean, as far like at least with the clarity side of things, they're very like bang on with that. Yeah. I know some people have some issue with Riot balancing, but I think when they do it, like they do it decently.
I think they haven't done anything too drastic. I think in Valorant yet. I'm pretty happy with how things have gone.
Yeah, I think actually like the game state right now feels pretty solid. Like you know what I mean?
Feels like most characters have a place where they can shine. Like it doesn't feel, other than Viper, I feel like almost every character kind of gets some time in the spotlight.
Well, I think Brim too. I think we've talked about Brim kind of like, I mean, he's the smoke agent, but I mean like he's kind of outshined by like Omen and stuff like that.
I think at pro level for sure, but I think like at any other elo that's not like Radiant, like you could see someone pull out a Brim and have success.
Yeah, exactly. And not just be like, oh shit, okay, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So I other than at pro level, I think most characters are pretty reasonably balanced. Obviously at pro level, then you get into like the min-maxing of
of course,
comps and
stuff like that. Yeah. Do you want to do that now?
Good. He like wants to go up. He's just like
he's not. Yeah.
He's just like
we had a nice like stop point anyway. So
come on. Why don't you go lay down?
Yeah, he's so good most of the time.
Yeah, come on. Go on. I mean, he's still not being hyper. He just like wants to know like sniff our drinks and stuff. Sit down.
He was really pushing to get outside when we before.
Well, he loves going outside, but
his paw. I guess his paws are like a big deal with that shit.
Yeah, his paws were like getting cracked and like bleeding. You okay?
And so on, more or less.
You lay all the way down. Good boy.
There we go. Cool. All right, cool. So we'll get back into it, and we'll go into the next thing. So yeah, like I guess that's really about it for patch notes. I don't think there's anything really.
One quick thing to note is this observer change. So the observer they're using for First Strike is a person named like Sapphire or Sapphics or something.
Right.
So they're the same observer they use for every Counter-Strike major. Same
person. Okay, cool. All right.
So I wonder if these observer changes are coming directly from her or him. I don't know the specifics of who they are, but they're on Reddit. They're very prominent on Reddit. They post on CS:GO's subreddit. They post on Valorant subreddit, and I wonder if they're the one giving these observer notes. Like Riot keeps doing really great observer changes, and they've hired the best observer in the game. Like this person does everything for Counter-Strike and is now doing everything for Valorant. And in Counter-Strike, they actually have kind of taken on new and up and coming observers, which is a funny statement, and kind of like, you know, guided them, and so like they're well known to me. So I wonder if these changes are coming from them, because if so, like, great fucking job. The observing is getting in tournaments is getting amazing. Like,
it's getting First Strike, so much better.
Yeah. Oh my god. Like, it's catching the lurks perfectly. It's catching the executes great. So well fucking done.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good point too. That if Valorant or like Riot's Valorant team is listening to people that are like known in the community and are good at this job already, and they're just being like, this is how you can improve it, and they're like, sick, we'll definitely do that.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's what you want to see out of it, like an emerging game, right? So
yeah, because like the Valorant like in-game changes are like sort of important, but Riot really makes its money on viewership
Absolutely.
and skins.
Yeah.
So obviously you want to make the viewership as clean as you can, so like any just fucking Joe Schmo can tune in and watch and be able to like catch all the action and not miss anything. And so they're doing a great job at just sort of improving the quality of life week after week.
Absolutely, yeah. Speaking of skins, a Night Market also came out too, but we were not like. I mean, that's not really relevant.
Yeah, what's that about?
It's just like
all but one of my skins are blue. I got fucked.
Dude, I had 3 of the Galeria's skins, and I was like, oh, this fucking sucks.
My one good skin was for the fucking Guardian. And I'm like, I don't buy that.
Oh, dude. I have seen some pretty dirt nasty fucking Guardian play, so I mean, like, it's got its place. It's got its place, but
it's got its place when your whole team you're about to tie up the game and you have no money.
Yeah, it's like the weird sort of budget round, but not really. Yeah.
If I buy it, the game's already over.
Yeah.
That, so,
yeah, exactly, right? So we'll move right into the NA. I don't want to call it the NA shuffle. We're not there yet, but definitely NA is getting shooken up a little bit. So longtime member of C9, Shinobi, has gotten the axe. There was a lot of weird drama that kind of came from it. Him and Tens apparently squaring off, and then both of them taking to Twitter being like, "No, you guys are weird." Like,
it's super weird. Like, so the background for Tens is he had this issue on Cloud9 for Counter-Strike, where I guess he hadn't had the ability or hadn't been able to synergize with his teammates, and then he ended up getting benched because of what he called creative differences. Now it looks like it's kind of happening again in Valorant. I don't know if it truly is or if it's just like an interviewer kind of reaching or maybe pulling something out of an answer Shinobi gave. Obviously, Shinobi had been catching flack for his performance for a long time. And obviously, it's hard to perform as a support player who is always kind of being selfless for the team, and I get that. But at the same time, you still need to be able to step up. Even the bottom frags for other teams, like let's look at TSM. Cutler is the IGL.
Yep.
He's the bottom frag a decent chunk of time, but there are times where he just steps up in top frags.
Oh, yeah.
I think like you kind of needed Shinobi to have the ability to do that.
And he just never really did. He never really, and that's just it, right? Like, I mean, and even like Steel chucks some like.
Oh, did you see that?
Oh yeah. That
clip. Get someone who will shoot back or something. Yeah. That's
tough. And I didn't like, and like once I actually
ice cold.
Yeah. Like I actually I saw on Reddit somebody actually linked like the stats kind of behind Shinobi's like 50-50, and he's just horrible at winning the 50-50s, right?
Yeah. So, like I think he has a good mind for the game. I just don't know. Maybe he'd be better suited as a coach for the time being. Or,
I was just gonna ask, where do you think, like, what do you think is next for him? Do you think he gets picked up by like?
I think he could be an IGL, but I think he's got to work on his gun mechanics. Like, it's hard to be I understand that it's hard to be an IGL and a frag.
Yeah.
From a first-hand perspective, it is totally hard because you're thinking about your 4 players, the other 5 players, the time left on the screen, the amount of utility you have left, all that shit. Obviously, it's tough, but you still need to be able to be present in the rounds. So I get that. But if you're unable to do it, then, obviously you can't be a pro. So,
that's just it.
So either work on the gunplay or go become a coach. Those are your options, I guess.
Yeah. So on top of that, C9 had a bunch of shit. So they cut their entire Korean roster, which I think we knew was going to kind of come once we started seeing the world scope kind of start like coming to fruition.
Well, once Riot announced you can't have 2 teams in the world.
That like, I mean, somebody's got to go.
C9's
and like
investment just.
Oh yeah, exactly, right. But I mean, I think that's a dirt nasty roster for another Korean organization to pick up, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not division strikers, but they're competitive, right? I think they're like the only people to take games off Vision Strikers.
I think they're top 3.
Yeah, easily.
Top 3, top 5, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think that I don't know what it means for C9 White. That's the only other thing, because C9 White is also going to compete domestically.
I hate to say it, and in the least toxic way imaginable.
Oh no.
Are they going to be at Worlds anyway?
Well, that's true too, right? Like, I mean, that's just it. I mean, we did see they have a decent showing.
Right.
When I think it was like right when they went under the C9 banner. They made it. I think it was in the Nerd Street Gamers tournaments. I think.
Right.
They actually they made top 16, and that was when they first got in. So will they make Worlds? Maybe not, but I think they're gonna be a bit of a gatekeeper. So I don't know where they kind of fall into place.
I think that I think, again, in the least toxic way imaginable, think they exist kind of, to gatekeep, to kind of crush local tournaments, to kind of, pull in views from perhaps another gender that might not typically view, or to pull in merch numbers that might not typically buy.
Right.
I think, yes, they're a gatekeeper, but I also think they're a bit of more there for... Never mind, I wouldn't say it. But anyway, I just think they both won't exist at Worlds at the same time anyway, so it's not necessarily...
It's not like C9's not operating at they're not going to run at a loss for keeping the female roster. Yeah. Okay, I think it's a fair assessment. We see that historically with like FPS genres like across the board, right?
Right.
Running the two gender rosters, it's it's a known thing, right? So
and then as Valorant kind of fleshes out, you might start to see separate leagues or separate tournaments.
Yeah.
Separated by gender, and then if that's the case, then it's even less of a problem.
It's a non-issue at that point, right?
And then they can just make tournament winnings for free, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. 100%, man. Holy shit. So another North American roster that I think is they haven't had a full team in I don't know how long is Dig. Dig hasn't had a stable 5-man roster for the longest time, and now they've kind of settled out. It seems with Odaris and Maka, I think, are the two new guys coming in because they were running the brothers for a little bit, and then they were rotating people in and out. So this is the roster they've settled on. It's Superman, Som, Odaris, Maka, and Def. So that's where we're settling out. So I don't know. I know
Depp and Odaris from CS:GO.
Okay, cool. So I don't know anything about Odaris. So
they were high level players. He was good. I don't think I've ever seen him at a tier 1 level in Counter-Strike, but he's not. He's still good.
He's still good, yeah. And that was a big thing. So a lot of our information we're getting from this is from an interview we actually did with one of the interviewers at Dig, where basically said they asked him why'd you switch over? He's like, competitive CS:GO in tier 2 is dying. I needed to get the fuck out of there, right? So
with COVID in Counter-Strike, all the NA teams are actually going to Europe.
Yeah,
quarantining their players and then playing online tournaments in Europe. So there's no NA tournaments.
NA tournaments are taking place in the States and
so even online ones. So if you're tier 2 or 3 in NA CS:GO, you are just doing nothing right now.
You're just in limbo, right?
So.
Shit. So what do you expect of this roster? What do you where would you place them in the rankings? Bear in mind that Envy has self-proclaimed himself at number 4.
I don't think that I see any IGLs that are noteworthy necessarily. Which I think right now, in the era of Valorant we're in right now, it's kind of this time where big brains can shine.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. I don't see them in the top 4.
No, you don't see them okay. All right.
So I don't know how they beat out, the TSM 100 Thieves Sentinels and maybe Envy or C9 Blue. I think those two are kind of in
those are the ones
at the moment.
Right.
I don't see them being top 4. I think Depth and Odaris can be quite good. So I think if they're utilized correctly and they do have a strong IGL, I think they do well, but we'll see.
I don't even know who their definitive IGLs right now. I think it might be Def. I don't know.
Again, I have no idea. I don't believe he was an IGL in Counter-Strike. So it'd be interesting if he made.
It might be Som. I don't know, man.
Yeah. We'll have to see the team. I would love to see them in action. I've always kind of had a soft spot for Dignitas.
Yeah, they're one of the OG orgs, man. It's hard not to like them. They've been in every esport too.
Back with Scara and I'm a Cutie Pie.
Oh yeah,
for League of Legends when I first liked them.
Yeah. Oh, that's just it, man. They those guys they need some love, man. They deserve and they have the 76ers money, so it's not like they're not doing bad, right?
Yeah, and they rebranded. Their stuff looks pretty good these days.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Owl. The Owl does it.
Yeah, because back in the day, they were that weird alien with the big eyes.
Yeah, it had a name, too. I don't remember what the fuck it is.
You can still get skins from the old Counter-Strike majors where that was the
fucking
logo or the brand.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah.
God damn. So, okay. So, and finally, we're going to close it out on an NA, is the JBL Quantum Cup. Of course, this is ongoing right now. As you guys know, we do record our episodes on Saturday or Sunday. It's been pretty much Sunday pretty consistently as of recently. So usually we don't get to see the final results until the following week. There was a bunch of stuff I had to close in from the last week that I didn't think about. So
the big thing was we predicted the 100 Thieves versus TSM final. I predicted 100 Thieves to win. They did win. What was it? 3-1.
It's 3-1.
Yeah. Woo! Yes, clean as a whistle. What's crazy is they were showing players like webcam perspectives.
Yeah.
And like you could just visually see that TSM was getting so tilted.
Tilted, yeah.
I think that they're the tilt kings in NA right now. Like they get so in their head. Like Hayes was like holding his face, like he's just so unhappy to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. And like with the Quantum Cup, TSM has definitely carried that namesake over. Because they must have got fucking tilted against Sentinels. Because Sentinels took them 13-1. 13-1. Now, I mean, that's not as bad as Envy getting taken out 13-0 to 100 Thieves. But
yeah. But the Sentinels thing, like with what happened with Shazam in the past 2 weeks, them not practicing to then 13-1 TSM.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bad look for TSM.
It is a bad look. Because, I mean, that was the big thing of Sentinels not performing at First Strike. Because it was like, well, Shazam didn't practice for 2 weeks because of a death in the family and stuff like that. And then for them to come back and just absolutely beat around TSM, right?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I think TSM is a good team, but I think they're having difficulty A with personalities, and B, I think their triple duelist setup is tough. I think every team is playing like an info gathering game, and TSM is giving it up for frag power, but it just means they're getting out lurked and out rotated. Like it's tough.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we had a whole episode titled this, right? Like, I mean, run and gun is kind of starting to it's losing. It's losing to to the information gathering, to the thinking man's Valorant, right? Like, I mean,
well, and everyone knows how Wardell's going to play. So if you're just not giving him opportunities
to be Wardell,
what can he do? Like, and he was the star player in the past, but now he's pretty well figured out. So you need to play a different game. You need to be able to know. You need to be able to know how and when to rotate. And I think you can't do that if you're not getting any info.
Well, yeah, and this
so either you got to run it down mid, or you need a fucking sentinel. I don't know.
Well, that's just it. And I think it's basically their only real information gatherer is Cutler most of the time, right? Like, I mean,
and who plays Sova most of the time? Right?
And that's who he plays for information is Sova, and.
Right.
He's usually left on an island by himself doing his own fucking thing. Yeah. And then, we talked about it First Strike. He's expected to, clutch out half the time, which he did. He does live up to his namesake a bit. Yeah. But, that's...
Well, not in this...
Not in this. Yeah, not in the best of ones. So,
how does a Jet and a Raze and... whatchamacallit retake a site? Like, they have hardly...
Well, they don't, right? Like, they just don't, right?
You can throw a boombot in, but they're probably sitting way back, holding the bomb. It's just tough. Yeah, I just think their setup is definitely a bit aged. They need someone to play a Sentinel, I think.
They do. I think they need to rotate one of these duelists off. And, you can do it. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect to see one of these duelist players frag out on a Sentinel. I don't think it's... look at Mitch over on C9, right? Like, Mitch plays Killjoy and just takes everybody's head off, right?
Obviously, it's a much different game to play Sentinel versus a fragger, but, you just can't. You need info. These teams, look at 100 Thieves, they're they already just have a full the whole round is playing out in Steel's head, so he knows where he's taking control, where he's gonna fake a site and go to the other side, or where he's gonna execute, where he's gonna lurk. You need someone who's gonna be able to figure these kind of plays out in advance, and if you're just a bunch of fraggers, if you lose the duel to him, then his whole plan just unfolds on you, and you can't do anything about it.
Well, I think this kind of goes back to Cutler as the IGL. He's not being able to play that kind of game. He's I hate to say it, but he's more like a ringleader with a bunch of monkeys. That he's I gotta rein these three fucking fraggers in. I don't even have a chance to think about what our game plan is, because I'm trying to deal with our three duelists trying to do shit.
Right.
You know
Whereas
what I mean?
if you look at our Thieves, their fragger Hiko is the one playing Sova.
Yeah.
And then their IGL's playing a Sentinel, and then
they have Asuna basically just being this selfless duelist.
So yeah, they have two separate players on separate parts of the map gaining information at the same time, and it's just the difference it's making in the results is you can see it.
Yeah, exactly. So So before we get into the rest of the results, because there is some other stuff that that I definitely want to talk about with JBL. How much do you value best of ones? Do you think everybody's holding too much merit to some of these results because it's it's best of one, nobody really gives a fuck?
In CS:GO, they're definitely viewed as jokes. That like betting in Counter-Strike on best of ones, you always bet the underdog because it's so common to just get upset.
Upsets, yeah.
Because these like unknown teams or whatever can just demo review nonstop and just upset you one game. And in a best of 3 they may lose, but in the best of 1 they have a way better chance at upsetting than they ever would. And it looks like in Valorant it's kind of carrying forward. Like no one's really taking it serious. The good teams that are getting shit on are saying, "Oh, it's just the best of 1. Like, we don't care." And then it looks like Cloud9 Blue is even trying out a new player for the best of 1. So.
Yeah, we're seeing Leaf coming over. So,
and the IGL role switched to Vice, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, like best of 1s definitely don't look like they're being taken 100% serious.
It's a $50,000 tournament, which is the thing to me. I'm like, it's such a, like an aloof concept to be like, I get to fuck around in a $50,000 tournament and like try new stuff like that. To me, like to not hold that much value to that much money. I don't know.
I agree with you, and for what it's worth, from an opposite perspective, why if you have a $50,000 tournament, why are you doing best of 1s? It's just gonna get over with quickly. Like and why are you not filming all the games? Because that's another thing.
Yep.
They only film like half the games.
Half the games, yeah.
If you have a $50,000 prize pool, film all the games, drag it out, get your viewership up, like run ads, do your shit, like make some revenue. Like,
I mean, like this is like, and like, but this is the crazy thing is like this is what you see the difference of a tournament that's handled by Riot specifically and a third-party tournament. Right. Like, I mean, I know Riot still gives the approval for these tournaments, but like you see the difference. You see like they're like. They let players basically stream their point of view if they want. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of players are opting out of it because like, why would I, right? Like, I mean, like, why would I give that away?
Yeah, like Hayes even said, like, I'm streaming the tournament and then look at the result, 13-1. Like, he doesn't want to release that.
No, exactly, right? Nobody wants.
They got bopped.
Yeah, exactly, right? So and of course the other team that got bopped was Envy. Envy got 13-0'd on Bind, I think. By 100 Thieves. Yeah, I know. Woo-hoo! I know.
The formula.
Dude, I'm never gonna hear the end of this. Like
I told you, 100 Thieves.
Yeah,
they're Ditto from Pokemon. They just adapt and they just become an upgraded version of you. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, they're a fucking force right now.
Like they lose one game and they just adapt so perfectly to beat that same team that beat them every time. Too.
Oh, and that's just it. And it never happens again after they once that one mistake happens, they're like, all right, that's never gonna happen again, and it doesn't.
It's fucking so good, man. They're like textbook of pre-gaming. Like they pre-game these teams so hard. They have strats tailored to specific teams. They demo review.
I want to know how Steele's headset fits around his head. That's what I want to know. That brain is gigantic.
Juicy. Well, again, like the beauty of it is Nitro as well has a big brain. Like they just have so much brain power, which sounds fucking lame, but like I don't know. They're doing so good. And
Nitro's also built like a brick shithouse, which was another thing I didn't realize.
Well, in Counter-Strike, we're in an era now where a lot of teams have like health and nutrition coaches as well as game coaches. So like they have to go to the gym, they have to eat good. Yeah. Like I know Cloud9, I'm pretty sure had meals made for them, and like we're expecting
that's good.
To go to the gym.
I can see 100 Thieves doing the same thing because I mean, like
100 Thieves.
Nate has fuck you money, right?
Paid for them all to come out, so they're one of the few teams that are all in person.
Right.
Which is because they're paying itself off in dividends because they're winning shit.
Because I think Envy is still not together. I think Envy are all playing.
Well, yeah, Sentinels, TSM, Envy are all separate. So, 100 Thieves gets to demo review in person, practice in person, and then they also just get to team bond and like shoot the shit, like eat lunch together. Yeah. Play, and they released a 100 Thieves video. They were like playing basketball together. Yeah. They're just like the amount of like chemistry they're developing at such a fast pace because they're just grouped up in a compound is like unparalleled.
It's a smart move. Absolutely.
You can't put a price tag on that. Like.
No, it's an intangible, right? Absolutely.
And on top of that, look at the amount of money they're winning in return for the investment.
Well, yeah, that's just it. Nade's getting his money back.
Well, they won the qualifier, and then now if they win this, another 50 Gs. Like,
yeah. Well, they're only so we're gonna talk about a couple things right now. So FaZe loses a game to Time In, Ninja's fucking team, which is hilarious. They squeak by being the ones that qualify because they were only a -2 in rounds where Envy was -5. So FaZe is like barely deserves to be there to begin with. And I mean, I feel like you should lose a couple rounds because you got taken out by Ninja's team. And then on the flip side of things, I will never understand the enigma that is Gen G. I will never understand them. They are a fucking anomaly to me. I don't know. They 3-0'd. They 3-0'd. Now, none of them were as convincing as wins as like the Sentinels over TSM or 100 Thieves over Envy. Right. But like they were still pretty dominant. They had one 13-10, and I think the other ones were 13-5 and 13-6.
Who was it they beat?
So they beat everybody. They beat Sentinels, they beat TSM, and they beat whoever the fuck the other team was in the bracket. I can't remember who that. Yeah, Cloud9 Blue. Yeah.
Yeah, I think good for them. Showing they're still competitive because I feel like they've dropped off the map in the last few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I haven't heard from them in a fucking 1,000 years. Well, it hasn't been that long, but yeah, I mean, like they were hot and then they just fell off so fucking hard. So good to see that. B, what the hell's happening? FaZe has so much money as an organization. I don't know how they've just developed a team of nobodies. And I hate to be a dick, but like in Counter-Strike, they're paying $1 million buyouts on players to come play, and then their Valorant team. I don't know a single dude. Like, who are these people?
Corey's from Overwatch, so there's one person there, and like the rest of the roster is kind of like a bunch.
I guess, but they're getting beat by Fortnite players. Like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? Like, what the?
Yeah, have you seen Ninja IGL, dude? He just screams at everybody the entire time.
I hope to God that he's not like that in a competitive setting, but like he used to be professional Halo player. So
and with Luminosity,
maybe he's got a good head for it. I don't know. Last time I watched him play, like he wasn't anything too crazy.
No, he's he's not bad. Like he's not like what the hell are you doing, like being at this level sort of thing.
Right.
But he's not as competitive as so many other players, right?
I just think it's kind of fucked up if you're a professional Valorant player and you're getting beat by a guy who streams for content like probably 8 hours a day.
Yeah,
so like the amount of time he gets to practice versus you, and like
that's just it. For Ninja, this is like a fun thing to do. For you, it's your job, and you're losing to him.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, which should never fucking happen.
That's crazy.
So now we're gonna skip across the pond. We're going to go over to EU. Not a whole lot of news coming into EU. G2 is apparently dropping David P, and they're benching Pith, yeah. So Pith apparently is might be hearing from Guild, which we keep wanting to see. I don't know who Guild's going to get rid of. I don't
know either, but Pith actually played in Ninjas in Pajamas in Counter-Strike also. So Draken and Pith should know each other. I think the relationship there should be pretty good. And Pith, fantastic player. So
yeah, that's just it. I'm kind of surprised to see the Pith benching. Like that one's a little weird to me.
I don't know how good his English is. Maybe that might be one thing.
Yeah. It could be a communication thing, absolutely.
Because he is a Swedish player, so we'll see. But if Gil picks him up, I think Draken and Pith would be big for that team. Mm-hmm. Those are two big fraggers. So.
Yeah. And another note on this too. I wanted to mention this as well. This was reported by Nell. So Nell is a known CS:GO reporter who is now basically just starting to move over to Valorant as well, which I think is good because you need experienced journalists to report on this shit who have sources and everything like that.
I don't know how experienced in reporting versus just leaking.
Oh yeah,
leaking
leaks,
the DMs. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah. Okay, fair. All right, fair enough. But at least I don't know. Apparently, he has sources, so we'll take it. And then we're seeing FBX starting to change their roster around. Again, we were talking about FBX being like this fucking titan in EU. They were supposed to do anything, but they dropped Meadow. Right. So Meadow hasn't been slotted with a new team. FBX, at least last time I checked, they haven't really been trialing anybody or anything like that. So I don't know who they're going to add to that roster now.
Yeah.
Again, we're not in this. We're not to the point yet where we have this weird free agent pool that we can kind of predict who's going to go over and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't know. They could grab somebody from fucking CS:GO, Fortnite. Who the fuck knows, right?
Yeah, they've got a lot of options. It'll be interesting to see because obviously they had a lot of successes. Interesting to see why they dropped Meadow. I didn't really get a chance to look at his stats in the past several games, but interesting.
It was weird because FBX was dominating until First Strike, and First Strike was the first time they really lost. Right. So it's weird. This feels very knee jerky to me, right? Just to be oh well.
I think we're seeing that a lot across all regions so far. People are just pulling the trigger now, get the changes done before First Strike comes out. Smooth out any wrinkles.
You mean like Masters and shit like that, or challengers? And yeah. Get prep for 2021. Yeah. So that's really it out of Europe. This is something I saw and I was like, this is fucking sick. So the Vision Strikers, Korea's crown kings, basically proposed a second strike. So second strike is basically all the Asian teams that won first strike playing in their own tournament. So that includes the Vision Strikers, Thailand's Myth Attitude, SEA's Brand Esports, Indonesia's Team NXL, Taiwan's AHQ, and then Japan's Absolute Jupiter. So the cool thing about this is all these teams, with the exception of Myth Attitude, absolutely destroyed First Strike. They they either dropped like one game or none whatsoever, except for Myth Attitude, who had these.
It looks like the bracket for Myth Attitude was much larger though. They played, 14 games.
Yeah, so for Myth Attitude, they had it was like a best of 16. It wasn't a best of 8. Right. So they had to go through that initial thing, and that's where they got knocked out. They got put into the losers right off the gate, and then they had this ridiculous losers bracket run to end up taking, which we love. We love to see that shit, right?
Yeah, no, that's like the definition of hype. Like,
exactly, right?
Of course.
So we got all that shit, and then we have some like also very noteworthy names. Like again, Absolute Jupiter. I've been like singing the praises. HQ, which is a very storied org, and then the other ones, Team NXL. It doesn't even have a Valorant page on Wikipedia, which I thought was great. They just have a logo. So, but I think this would be sick.
I agree. I think like a lot of these smaller regions or a lot of these non-NAE regions have less top teams or less corporate investments. So it would be cool to see them get a little shine on and obviously compete with each other. I still don't know, like teams like Absolute Jupiter and Vision Strikers. I feel like the time they're able to put in is probably going to be still pretty dominant. Like I don't know how competitive the Indonesian team will be when they match up against Japan or Korea's best, because Japan and Korea are playing against real like really good competition in second and third. I haven't heard of any other Indonesian teams. So,
well, and that's just it, right? The Indonesian bracket was huge, but it was again the Indonesia where'd they go 9-2, and they dropped like one map like here and there, but that was it, right? So, I think it'll be a bit of an eye opener. I know Taiwan has always been fairly competitive in esports as well, so it's not unheard of, but I think some of these teams would probably get absolutely slammed, especially by the Vision Strikers, because they're just.
Well, like
they're a different breed, man.
AHQ and Absolute Jupiter dropped 0 games. Like, if you're from a smaller region where the teams are less unknown and you're dropping games there, how are you going to match up against these teams dropping 0 in a much larger region? Like, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So, I hope somebody does this. I can imagine. I don't know. Like, COVID seems to be a bit more under control in like that part of the world. So we overseas. So we might see it before we start getting into challengers and all that stuff. Because I think even if it would be an exhibition, I think it would be really fun to see how people measure up against each other.
It would, yeah. I think any regional like anything where you're pitting 2 regions or 2 countries or 2 whatever against each other, like makes it hype, right? Because then you get both sides. It's very much like a us versus you kind of thing, and I think it promotes you to like get hyped for your region, to come out and cheer, and then you're gonna see like a lot of like rivalries kind of spawn from that, and that's hype to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what like one of the best parts about esports, right?
Yeah.
So, but back on to Korea. For whatever reason, they value the Bucky over the Sheriff. Like the entire Korean community, you see it in the pro play. They don't buy Sheriffs, they buy Buckies, and they just tee off on you on that that right click, man. They just it's disgusting. The damage is ridiculous. I don't and you have to be far less accurate, right?
So I believe this all came from like a Korean poster saying that in the Korean scene they wanted the Bucky nerfed, and I think I've been on this train for a while that the right click on the Bucky. So a shotgun in an FPS game is like supposed to hold a close corner. It's supposed to be good at that. Yeah. I think the Bucky is good at that, but it also, for some odd reason, has this insane right click that does like a mid-range shot. Like I remember I was on bind and I was coming up short, and there was a guy in hookah and he peeked down mid, and I got right clicked from a sizable distance away.
Yeah.
And like 5 bullets hit me in the head and 3 hit me in the chest and killed me. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So I think, for sure. I think they just need to make the spread on it much wider for that not to be a thing. But or alternatively, make the sheriff a one-shot headshot at all ranges.
Yeah. Which it is in CSGO.
There should exist a high skill cap gun that's high reward.
Yeah.
And that's what the sheriff is.
Well, I mean, it should be. It's not there right now because again, you can tee off somebody in the head. It's 142 damage. Of course,
like you're seeing like someone like Tens who opts in for the sheriff all the time, but he then holds close angles with it.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to risk 145ing in one, which is the most tilting experience of your life.
So one thing I wanted to figure out, and like because I know as far as like in Asia and stuff like that, like CS:GO is played, but it's not the most prominent FPS. Right. Crossfire is, right? So I wanted to know if this is like something that like I haven't now. Admittedly, I haven't done enough digging enough on the Korean rosters to figure out if these guys have like Crossfire backgrounds or CS:GO backgrounds. Right. Do you think this is just familiarity, where the Crossfire guys are more adept to using a different a wider variety of guns, where the CS:GO players are coming over and they're like, well, I know what the Deagle does, so the Sheriff should do the same thing.
Yeah, I think, Tens is a prime example, again, because in CS:GO, he, was just notably insane with the Deagle.
Right.
I think the Deagle is something that rewards crosshair placement, and obviously someone with insane crosshair placement, they're going to hit ahead incredibly often.
Yeah.
Whereas a Bucky, you can kind of aim center mass, and it's not an issue, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, a much lower skill ceiling, but still high reward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's tough to say. I think for sure Counter-Strike players are going to be more inclined to use the Sheriff because they think it's like the Deagle. Also, it could just be a meta thing. Like, NA players like to swing wider and hold these kind of peak longer angles.
Yeah.
It might be the thing that Korea players like to just hold tighter angles or take a much shorter range fight.
Well, we've seen that with the Korean Jets with the judges, right? They won't. Yeah. They'll just fly in and tee off on you on the judge, which I feel like is still something we don't see in North America. Like we don't. Yeah. Like you don't see people taking that. They hang back and again, like you said, like go for the wide swings and stuff like that. Or Korean Jets just fly the fuck in and they're like, well, I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna miss because you're like right in front of me, right? So
yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I mean there was a tournament a long time ago where we saw Tens against TSM get a 3K with a judge flying.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely probably a regional thing. This whole Bucky versus Deagle, or Bucky versus Sheriff. I think the right click of the Bucky needs to be nerfed. I think that the spread is just so tight that it shouldn't be a thing. Like,
yeah, why do you have this mid-range gun that's like as effective as a Deagle and $100 less, and two far less accurate, right? Or you need to be far less accurate.
Yeah, just let a shotgun be a shotgun.
Yeah,
I don't
hold
know.
the angle. Yeah,
body someone who's close to you, but someone who's far away, yeah, you should only be able to hold a close angle with a shotgun, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we'll see how that kind of develops. I mean, maybe we'll see patch notes coming up with that as we get closer to challenge or something like that. Who knows? But other than that, though, I think that's pretty much it for this week. I mean, there was a lot of shit to cover.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, I did the patch. I did our show notes up, and I was like, this seems like an alright amount. But then I was like, holy fuck, we just talked for a while. So
covered a lot.
Yeah. So that's kind of it for us over here at Dry Peak, guys. Give us a follow on Twitter at popped_off. Check out our website at poppedoff.com and follow any of our podcasts under the Popped Off brand. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. I don't know. All of them. Spot FM, shit like that. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.
See you guys.